I'd like to start the meeting, please. Here's my little agenda. Could I have Mason Landry come up? He's going to help us start. He's the Pledge of Allegiance. He's the Eagle Scout candidate that we'll be hearing from later in the meeting. Everyone, please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Mason. Announcements. The town offices will be closed on Tuesday, July 4th, in observance of Independence Day. There are various things going on. The 4th of July, Monday, July 3rd, from 6:30 to 8 p.m., the Merrimack Concert Association Holiday Concert at Abbey Griffin Park. On Tuesday, the 4th, at 8 a.m., the Sparkler 5K Road Race begins and ends at the Merrimack YMCA. Manchester Street will be closed from 7:30 to 10 a.m. There will be a lane closure on DW Highway that morning between BAE and Henry Clay Drive. From 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., the Merrimack Rotary will be having their annual pancake breakfast held at James Mastricola Upper Elementary School All-Purpose Room. From 12 to 9 p.m., the Rotary Club will also be presenting the Merrimack Family Fun Day held at the Mastricola School Fields. At 1 p.m., there will be a parade which begins at 515 Daniel Webster Highway and ends at the Merrimack High School. And at approximately 9 p.m. will be the annual fireworks display. Remember that the Town Council meets only once a month in July and August unless otherwise needed, because we can always arrange another one. And they are Thursday, July 20th at 7 p.m. here in the Matthew Thornton Room, and Thursday, August 17th, again 7 p.m. here in the Matthew Thornton Room. Okay. Eileen?
Nancy,
Oh.
Did you say the breakfast is at the upper elementary school rather than the high school?
At James Mastricola Upper Elementary. Right?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I did have
It's just
after you.
different, so I wanted to make sure
Okay.
that I and people understood that.
Very good, thank you. Go ahead, Holly.
Okay, would this be the appropriate time for me to give up the floor for my announcements to Kyle about the culvert on Amherst Road, or would
Okay,
it-
let me just do one quick thing, and then we'll do that. Is that okay with you?
Let me do my announcement.
Okay,
and
come
then
back, and then we'll do
when I
Kyle.
do my report,
Perfect,
then, okay.
perfect.
We like to negotiate. So, I'm not sure if you, I know.
With the town manager, yes.
So, I'm not sure if you'd said this or not, Nancy, but the Parks and Recreation Department is pleased to announce the 21st Annual Summer Concert Series at Abbey Griffin Park. Did you do that one?
Yes,
You already said it?
yeah,
Okay, never mind.
that's okay.
That's it.
Was that it? Okay, I just wanted to say just a few words related to the passing of Joe Thomas. The council wants to express our condolences to the family and friends of Joseph Darst Thomas, who passed away on June 5th, 2017. He loved talking about local, state, and national politics with his friends at the local diners, and he did serve the town of Merrimack as a state rep. We're going to miss his charming smile, and anyone who knows him knows that that's pivotal for him, and his very quick sense of humor. He will be missed. So could I please have just a moment of silence? Thank you. Rest in peace, Joe. Okay, Eileen, all yours, or Kyle's, whoever you designate. This is important to the town, as we all just got notified that Amherst Road is closed and half of a Merrimack panicked. But as I mentioned, I came through exit 11 on my way here, and there was no problem. So obviously the word got out sufficiently ahead of time that people were able to divert their travels. So go ahead, Cal.
Thank you. So I just wanted to give the council and the public an update on the Amherst Road culvert project. Briefly, a little history. The culvert is a 36-inch corrugated metal culvert that was installed long ago, and it is. We've been watching it for a while now because it's been experiencing some corrosion, as metal pipes do. We had made plans this summer to replace it, and we had hoped to start construction in a few weeks on it, as Dawn presented at the last council meeting. Unfortunately, the culvert, we noticed a divot in the road yesterday, which is a sign of a sinkhole soon to come. Though the sinkhole isn't obvious to the bare eye at this point, the fact that the road is sagging over about a 6 by 6 foot area indicates that there's a fair amount of roadbed fines that have washed away through the holes in the culvert. So we thought it was critical to get the road closed today, particularly the eastbound lane where the depression is located. So we mobilized our forces, had some great meetings with the police folks this morning. We all collaborated on how best to approach this project. So what we did for the immediate response is we closed the eastbound lane on Amherst Road. I should say, for those that aren't aware, the culvert in question is located on Amherst Road between Turkey Hill Road and Executive Park Drive. So couldn't be much worse of a spot in town. So we've closed the eastbound lane, which is currently closed at Meeting House Road and Natticook Road. So we're detouring cars coming eastbound, either left or right on Natticook and Meeting House. For today and tomorrow, we're leaving the westbound lane from the turnpike side open, so cars can hopefully get used to the upcoming closure before creating too much of a traffic snarl. We have officers out there with the press release we issued today and a map similar to this one with detour routes to try and educate as many people as we can as folks get snarled in the traffic. We're hoping to hand these out to try and get word out. We also did a press release, talked to MUR, put it on all our social media, Nixle. We sent it to the Amherst Facebook page as well, because there's a lot of commuters from that side coming over. So we really tried to get it as far breadth as we could for the notification. Come Saturday morning, highway crew is going to come in and finish closing the westbound lane starting at 7 in the morning. So at that point, the road will be completely closed to both vehicular traffic and pedestrian traffic. Our contractor, who was scheduled to come in a few weeks, has rearranged his schedule somewhat to try and help us out and get this opened as quick as possible. He's going to mobilize, hopefully Monday or Tuesday, get the equipment in there. And there's a fair amount of work he needs to do before actually digging up the old pipe and putting the new one in. Mainly there's a 16-inch water line and a gas line running through that corridor that we need to deal with, either by rerouting the water temporarily or trying to suspend it with a beam as we dig underneath it. So there'll be a fair amount of work to do there as well. We're going to put the existing pipe is a 36-inch pipe, which is really too small hydraulically. So we're putting back in a 60-inch concrete pipe, so we won't have to worry about this rotting pipe problem ever again. And we hope, if everything goes well, it could be less than 3 weeks, but we don't anticipate this closure lasting longer than 4 weeks. So I guess with that, I'll open it up to any questions.
Is everyone still in shock? Yes, Finley?
No, because I knew it was coming. I didn't know it was coming so quickly.
We did know it was coming. We just didn't know it was as fast.
Right.
Could you affirm that this was actually in the plans for the near future regardless?
It was, yeah. And fortunately, it was in the plan. One of the lucky things about us planning for it, and And time-wise, we did make it through the end of the school year, which was one of our priorities. So luckily, by days, we made it through that milestone.
Yeah, no, because
But yeah, this has been on our radar. We maintain what we call our drainage master plan list, and this was climbing up towards the top of the list, number 3 on the list.
Yeah.
And so it was planned work for this summer, and it's just happening a few weeks earlier than we had anticipated.
Yeah, because I noted your social media outreach, and some of the commentary was that there's some neglect going on, that this would happen so abruptly, but it wasn't.
Right.
It was planned on for a bit. So,
Right.
thank you.
And similar to the bridge projects we've all heard so much about over the last number of years, which are also metal pipes. And the closest parallel is Bean Road, where we had
Right.
years of planning on that one. And just 2 months before we were scheduled to close it, we had to close it, you'll recall, because of its condition. So as much as you can plan for the replacement of these metal pipes, they fail quickly, and sometimes you just can't plan everything to line up with funding sources and contractor availabilities.
Okay, thank you.
Jackie?
Kyle and Dawn, I was wondering, I think it's so lucky that you had, identified this problem a while ago and were ready to start the project. Do you have an inspection schedule on all of them in town? All of the culverts?
We
You
don't.
must look at the bridges regularly.
We look, well, the state inspects our bridges every 2 years, so that's a really solid program. Our culvert inspection program is one we're trying to improve on. During the last budget cycle, you'll recall the wastewater division was able to budget for, and it got approved to buy new camera equipment to be able to look through their lines. Our highway folks are also going to utilize that equipment to be able to start inspecting our stormwater culverts as well. Right now, we don't have the equipment to be able to do it, so all we can see is what you can see from the ends of the pipes and what you can see with
The
a
result
flashlight
of
looking up the
failure.
pipes.
Yeah,
So this will be the start of a more robust inspection program going forward.
good.
Bill?
Thank you, Nancy, appreciate it. Kyle, do you and Dawn anticipate coming back to the council for an additional appropriation from what we last talked about the last time?
We don't.
You don't? Okay. Follow-up, and this may not be a question for you, might be a question for either Eileen or Paul, but the police that are going to be out there at the site, is that going to be part of their regular duties, or are we going to be bringing in police officers for overtime duty to
There'll be detail officers
There'll be
on overtime.
overtime?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And although that just to follow up on that quickly, Bill, we had anticipated some officer cost in the project, obviously because the closure happened quicker than we anticipated.
Right.
There'll be a little bit bigger charge than we had planned on, but we'll still be able to stay within budget for the
Oh.
project.
Okay, fair enough. I appreciate that, Kyle.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Excellent. Tom?
So, thank you for your information and stuff, and I did hear it on ZID as I was driving
Good.
for this meeting, so they're talking about it as well in their traffic reports. Your detour map ends kind of abruptly on Natticook Road. It doesn't show where anybody goes
Right.
from there. Do you have an expanded out or another view, or do you have any intention of creating a view that doesn't show all the lots, maybe, so that it wouldn't be so cluttered?
Yeah, we were putting everything together pretty quickly this afternoon, so we will get a better map out there for sure.
Okay. And, because you don't want them going down Greens Pond Road.
We do not,
Which is
yeah.
the only thing that shows on the southern part of your map there.
And I would like to stress that we don't encourage people to use Greens Pond Road. It's not a paved road. It has some sharp turns and some steep grades. So for safety standpoint, it's not a good choice of detour routes.
Okay.
One of the difficulties in this kind of closure and the way Merrimack is cut off by two rivers and the turnpike is detour routes can be difficult and long. And we struggled with how do we detour this? How do we set up the detour routes? And so we made the decision to try and keep it as simple as possible by utilizing Meeting House in Natticook rather than Turkey Hill, because hopefully people coming from the west will get cut off there before they get up into the Snarl. And hopefully, as people get used to it over the next week or so, they'll find other routes. The folks from the west maybe can utilize Wilson Hill Road or Peasley Road. Coming from
Wilson
Amherst.
Hill could be tough, but
So people will find different routes. The folks coming off of the Turnpike and Greeley Street, it's nearly impossible to sign a detour because there's so many different places people can go. So we don't have any detour signs out there because there's no practical way to sign it.
well, there's only two ways they can go, right? Down Continental Boulevard and around by Thornton's Ferry, or up DW Highway to come to Babusick Lake Road. I mean,
Right, but we don't know if people are going to
no.
D'Angelo's. We don't know if they're going to the movie theater.
Oh,
Right.
It's a really complicated area.
So where you said you were going to put cutoffs eastbound at Natticook and Meeting House, are you literally going to barrier the road and people that live there have to go around them, or what's the intent?
No, the local traffic will be able to get through to their houses. The Jersey barriers are going to get put out Saturday, and those are going to be close to the work zone. We have a driveway west of the culvert that the barriers will be just to the east of that.
Okay.
And the barriers will be somewhere up the hill towards what used to be White Hen.
Okay, so you just have detour signs?
We'll have
out at
signs and
Natticook.
barrels and barricades. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
sure.
Dan?
I'm one of those people that have been, for the last few years, taking Greens Pond, because I have a pickup truck maybe, but I know a lot, at 5 o'clock, you want to avoid exit 11, because it's a nightmare at times. Will you just monitor, so the police maybe want to have, there may be a cop assigned the 5 o'clock hour at those critical spots where the traffic just could get backed up for a mile. It's already getting backed up at the where Meeting House meets Turkey Hill, right there. And I'm just wondering if that could be a real problem if everyone's, because that may be the backdoor entrance to take a left over Turkey Hill Bridge and all to the neighborhoods out that way. Granted, there's not going to be as much traffic coming from the Turkey Hill beginning because it's going to be closed. But I'm just wondering what that intersection is an unknown.
Right.
So if we would maybe monitor it the first few days at the PM hours of where there might be some trouble spots.
Definitely, and we had some really good discussions with the police folks. I don't know if Captain Dudash wants to come up today, but they're trying to figure out how many personnel are needed, and they're trying to set it so they can be flexible to areas where they aren't needed because traffic is working well. They can put them to other areas where they would be needed.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? No. Okay, well, thank you for taking, I know there was a lot of information you had to quickly get out, but you did it, and we appreciate that. And all we can do is ask the community to be cooperative and try to be patient.
Right.
There's really no way to avoid this. It's one of those things, and we'll all do the best we can.
Right, and we do ask everyone to please spread the word as best you can. We tried to hit all the outlets. The Traffic Management Center up in Concord is going to try and put the message on the Turnpike message boards.
Oh, nice.
We tried to contact Google to see if they could update Google Maps. Because one of the big problems for folks is that's the way they go. And for lack of not being able to go there, they're going to turn to their GPS. And nothing's more frustrating than your GPS telling you to go where you can't. So hopefully that works. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
I was looking to see if a closure did show up, and it did show up. There was one showing up in Bedford, so I suspect I'll do it. I don't know how long it takes for them to mark it up, but I think that'd be a real good idea.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for the update.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle.
Did you want anything else, Eileen, or you were all set? I forgot to mention that Councillor Albert is going to be delayed. He'll be in shortly. Okay, POFOA update. I don't have anything. Well, do you have anything? No. Of course you want to say something.
It was brought to my attention, I don't have many details, but the Merrimack Citizens for Clean Water are actually going to begin their community assessment study This weekend, they're going to be meeting across the street from Saint-Gobain's in the parking lot of the medical center and the bowling alley there to basically, dispense people with materials, and they're going to go out into the community and let drop those assessments. So they'll be out in our neighborhoods on Saturday and Sunday looking for people to participate in the community study assessment. So that's probably the only thing
So is it a questionnaire? Do you know?
Yeah, good question. I don't know.
Okay.
One would I only gleaned what I could glean off of social media.
Okay.
It was not, there wasn't any detail to it, just that they were going to
Okay.
be reconnoitering at that location this weekend to
Okay.
begin the study.
Very good. Okay, highway garage project update. Jackie, do you have anything?
Yes, I do have an update from Kyle. Thank you, Kyle. The highway garage project continues to move along. Over the past 2 weeks, the following progress has been made. We hosted the mandatory briefing session for construction management firms interested in the project. 12 firms attended the session. The geotechnical report for the site was issued. Overall, the report was very good news, showing good granular soils under the building envelope. There were some areas of fill and ledge that may need to be dealt with during construction, depending on the final design of the building. The draft existing conditions plan was issued by the surveyor to the design consultant. The final plan is expected by next week. H.L. Turner is continuing with the design of the building and will be seeking input from the highway garage employees in the coming weeks to gain a better understanding on the needed functionality of the building. In other words, how can the design of the building best help them do their jobs? The next milestones for the project include the following. The deadline for questions from potential construction management firms is tomorrow, June 23rd. The construction manager proposals are due to the town on June 29th, after which the building committee will review the submittals and narrow down the group to a short list of firms that will be interviewed and asked to submit a detailed proposal, including project costs. The building committee expects to be able to update the town council on July 20th on the selected construction management firm.
All set?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Any questions from anyone on the council about that report? Okay, seeing none. Comments from the press and public. Recognition, resignations, and retirement. Okay, we are now going to recognize the retirement of Police Chief Mark E. Doyle. The Town Council will present a recognition award to former Police Chief Mark E. Doyle in recognition of his retirement from the Merrimack Police Department with more than 31 years of full-time service. Wow. August 11th, 1985 to May 31st, 2017. And Eileen, I know that you want to, Captain Dudash and Captain Roy are going to be speaking, is that correct? Are they going to tell us stories? Is that
Yes,
what
I hope they are going to tell us pull out some skeletons and all that kind of thing.
I don't know about stories, but I can dispel that he is not the head dispatcher for E911. Good evening to the board, Assistant Town Manager Paul McCallie and Town Manager Eileen Cavanaugh. It's an honor to be asked to say a few words about a good friend, Mark Doyle, tonight. We consider Mark, what we call him, as a border jumper from Billerica, Massachusetts, when he got hired back in 1985. And a lot of people don't realize, or maybe do know, that I was assigned his FTO, which was his field training officer. I wish I could take credit for his success, but the truth of the matter is Mark was a very quick learner, very motivated to be the best that he could be and to succeed within the department. Just to list a few things, when we talk about succeeding within the department very quickly, Mark made sergeant within 3 years. So in 1988, he was a sergeant. 1994, he made lieutenant and captain in 2002, deputy chief in 2007. And of course, we all know that Mark served this great community from 2011 to 2017 as the chief of police. And while under his leadership, the town of Merrimack was in the top 100 safest communities in the country for 4 years in a row. During his career, Mark served as an accident investigation commander, motorcycle officer, department prosecutor, and many other hats. One thing that people don't realize that when Mark graduated from the police academy, he also received the Distinguished Most Outstanding Police Officer Award, which is pretty hard to receive. Mark has a long list of accomplishments, too many to list. But if there's any one goal or one accomplishment that Mark made as chief in something that he wanted to do from the beginning, was to knock down all barriers to all people to feel free to come to the police station, either call or come, and call them by Mark Doyle or Mike Dudash or Denise Roy. And by doing this, he did this by developing deep and lasting relationships within the community and civic organizations. And when I list these organizations, it's not just to name them. I mean, Mark actually participated with them. He would go out there and ride with certain groups, and he would come back like an hour later. I could say at least on an annual basis, he would look at me and say, I'm going to do Meals on Wheels, Mike. I'll be back in a couple hours. And that's the type of person he was. But the type of partnerships he created was with the Merrimack Crime Line, Lions Club, Safeguard, the YMCA, Greater National Health, Highway Safety Committee, as I mentioned, Meals on Wheels, Merrimack Youth Association, the Boy Scouts, but not last, his personal favorite, the Special Olympics. He's a leader not just in the department, the state. He's a leader overall in the Special Olympics, and he leads our guys in that thing. These are just a few accomplishments. But probably one of the biggest accomplishments he has is after 31 years, he has the same amount of hair that he came in with. And he's a few pounds lighter. But on a serious note, his greatest accomplishment is raising a great family with Mary. Not easy to do when you're working midnights, holidays, and weekends. Mark, Chief, on behalf of the whole department, I want to thank you for over 31 years of dedicated service to the people in town of Merrimack. You'll also be remembered when we place your photo on what we call the Chief's Wall of Fame. If you come to the police station, we have all the chiefs, and Mark Doyle's face will be there in a frame with the years that he served. I want to wish you all the luck in your new position as the Director of E911 for the state of New Hampshire. And as I told you before you left, we are proud to say you're from Merrimack.
Oh, it's my turn now. Chief, I'm sure you're nervous that I'm standing up here. Madam Chairwoman, members of the council, Eileen, Paul, thank you for giving me the opportunity to say some things about Chief Doyle. Chief, why don't you come over here so I don't have to... He's afraid of me. He's clearly afraid of me. I have... 27 years ago, just about 27 years ago, I walked through the doors of Merrimack Police Department, and I was young, intimidated. I didn't know anybody. I certainly didn't know what I was getting myself into. One of the people that made me feel comfortable and made me feel like I was a part of something bigger, part of a family, was then Sergeant Doyle. You know, I've always remembered that, and I've always hoped to emulate that by, you know, making others feel comfortable too. We've been through a lot over the years, some fun, some not so fun, some tragic events. You know, I've learned a lot through leadership, about leadership through you. I don't think I've ever really told you this, but back in 2014 when Sergeant Ed Payne passed away, we were all gathered at the hospice house. And I think we were kind of not so much in shock because we knew that it was inevitable that he would pass. But we were in shock that it actually did happen. And we didn't know what to do. And you stood up and you said a few words, and I won't repeat what you said, but you held us together. And those kinds of things we don't forget. I certainly won't forget. And that's certainly how I want to lead people. Another thing that you taught me about leadership is to always surround yourself with people who have different opinions than your own. I did actually cause some of those white hairs on his head, and just like you caused some on mine. But there are two things that I know that we've always agreed upon, even through disagreements, that we continue on our mission to keep this community safe, which we will do, and that each and every one of our officers goes home safely at the end of their shift. And for that, I thank you for teaching me that. Thank you for everything that you've taught me. I appreciate it, as do everybody else. But most importantly, thank you for being my friend.
A few. I don't have any prepared words. I just want to be able to say he is getting a rocking chair, which he won't use. You'll put in the corner somewhere, Mary, right? But and I say this to a lot of people who are retiring, we are representatives of the citizens of this town. And as a representation of the citizens, I want to thank you for all the years of service you did helping to protect them. So thank you.
Just briefly, police officers and public servants, first responders, are a special breed of folks. The people that I've worked with over the last 32 years, the police officers in the police department, the men and women who make up the agency, are really the true heroes. They're the ones that really keep things moving. They're the ones who respond to the calls for service. They're the ones that we all rely on for every time we pick up that phone and make a call for help. My hat goes off to all of you. Please, from now on, be safe and stay safe, and do the things that you're famous for, which is lending yourselves to only the best that you can do and the best that you can for the people in the community, those that you've sworn to protect and serve. So, which is now one of me. So I'm one of those individuals as well. So I thank you for all the service that you do. In 32 years is a long time, but it goes by in a flash, and I've had a conversation with some of the officers here about that, and before you know it, you look back on a career that's just gone by, and you wonder where all the times went. But the one thing that's always been there for me has been my amazing wife, Mary, who has been there nonstop. Long before I became a police officer, has been with me through thick and thin, and has always been there waiting up for me at night when I come home late, or when I have to leave early, or whatever it takes to be that police officer that people in town expect you to be. And couldn't have been nearly as committed or as dedicated unless I had Mary behind me the whole time. And to the same degree, wonderful children like my oldest daughter, Allison, who's here today, my son, Alex, and my daughter, Alan. It takes a family, as you all know, and not only the family that we have at home, but the family right here that we have when we come to work every single day of the week. And but for them, I wouldn't have been able to commit to 32 years of service here in Merrimack. And there's so much more to say and people to thank, and Mike sold himself a little bit short when he said that he doesn't take credit for who I am and for what I came into this job with a preconceived notion of what police work was. And coming from Massachusetts, it's a whole different world of police work down there. Mike showed me, because he was my field training officer, what a police officer in Merrimack really is. And again, but for him and that level of training, and the training that he provided and the oversight that he gave me while I was learning all the ropes about being a police officer, I don't think I would have been as dedicated and as committed or as even successful as a police officer as I probably would have not been had it been not for Mike. And folks like Denise, Peter Albert, who are individuals who are there to lend advice, whether I wanted it or not, which is what you need. Folks like Dean Kilkelly and Matt Tarleton and Danny Edmonds and Paul Trepany, and folks like Joe Devine and Billy Mulligan, Mike Milligan, and Paul Stavinger, who all came before me, who gave me an opportunity to be a policeman way back in 1985, are people that I need to thank and acknowledge publicly. And I want to thank the council for all of your support for us as a department and for our mission, and certainly Eileen for all your leadership and your friendship over the last 6 years. I can't say enough about you and your commitment to serving the people in town, and your support of all the employees do here, including the members of the police department and the other first responders and the folks in the other departments as well. So I want to thank you all for that on behalf of the members of the police department. And again, please be safe, stay safe, and if certainly you ever need anything up from me up in Concord as the Division Director of Emergency Services, I'm just a phone call away. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Appreciate that.
Huh? Yeah. Who's that plaque for? Grab your chair and get out of here.
Thank you so much.
Good luck. Okay, next, recognition of retirement of town employee. Town Council will present a recognition award to former account clerk to Janet Kilpatrick in recognition of her retirement from Merrimack Town Clerk Tax Collector's Office with more than 19 years of full-time service, September 2nd, 1997 to May 31st, 2017. And she is not here this evening, but I'm going to read the plaque she's going to receive that will be awarded to her at a separate time. Presented to Janet Kilpatrick upon the occasion of your retirement from the town of Merrimack Town Clerk Tax Collector's Office in recognition of the loyal and dedicated full-time service which you have contributed for more than 19 years. Your dedication and devotion to duty has been a tremendous asset to the town of Merrimack. We wish to extend to you our sincere appreciation for your outstanding performance of duty, presented by the Town Council and Town Manager this 22nd day of June 2017. Congratulations, Janet. Keep your health. Enjoy your retirement.
Nancy?
Next. Yes.
She's actually
Still
come
working.
back. She's come back and she's working part-time.
That was a short retirement.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's at least a retirement for full-time duty. Yeah. Okay, recognition of full-time years of service of town employees. And at the present time, none of these are going to be here this evening, but I'm going to list the names and the years of service, and again, each one will be receiving a plaque that says, for example, let's go with it. Fire and Rescue, Captain Richard M. Gagney, 20-year plaque. And the plaque reads, a 40-year service award presented to Lieutenant Richard M. Gagney in recognition of 20 years of service as an employee of the town of Merrimack Fire and Rescue Department. It is a pleasure to present you with this plaque. We wish to extend our sincere appreciation for your outstanding performance and dedication to duty, May 27th, 1997 to May 27th, 2017, presented on behalf of the Town Council and Town Manager this 22nd day of June. 40-year gift certificates are also going to be 40 years, I know. Are going to be presented to two Public Works wastewater people. James E. Taylor, I can't believe he's been here 40 years.
Yeah.
And Cecil E. Peters has also been here 40 years.
I was born the year they started working.
Yeah, right. And with that, we'll move on to the next, which is recognition of town committee member Douglas Doyle. Is he Douglas? Yeah, there's Douglas. Okay. And Douglas is going to be receiving a certificate, which I have right here. And why don't we get up and we'll both stand and I'll read it. Douglas, and I'll read this certificate for you. Presented to Douglas Dowell in recognition of your service as a member of the Economic Development Citizen Advisory Committee, and recognition of your dedication and commitment to public service during your appointment as a member of the Economic Development Citizen Advisory Committee. Your service and devotion to the Economic Development Citizen Advisory Committee has had a valuable effect upon this community. We wish to extend to you our sincere appreciation for your outstanding performance of duty from July 2008 to June 2017, and that's a lot of volunteer time, and we want to thank you. Okay. Recognition of a town committee member who's going to be, he's busy doing other things, but we wanted to give special recognition. He's not going to be re-upping. But in the meantime, the town council will present a plaque to Chris Christensen for his 15 years of service to the town of Merrimack as a member on the Parks and Recreation Committee. And if you could come up, Chris, I have a plaque I'm going to give you. read this to you. Presented to Chris Christensen in recognition of your volunteer service to the town of Merrimack for 15 years as a member of the Parks and Recreation Committee. We wish to extend to you our sincere appreciation for your continual commitment and hours dedicated to enhance the quality of life of the Merrimack community. Presented on behalf of the Merrimack Town Council, this 22nd day of June 2017. And I know within those 50, you've seen a lot of changes in the Parks and Rec. And I'm not sure if you want to say a few words or just want to, first of all,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nancy's right. I have seen a lot of changes to the Parks and Rec Committee and Parks and Recreation in the town. We much more are focused now on a much broader range of activities for all ages, families, elderly, kids, everything up and down the scale. And even though we look at Wasserman Park, for example, or Watson Park, great facilities, there are tons of other programs going on. Movies at night in Abbey Griffin Park is a new thing, and I want to say Matt Gasparius has done a great job of introducing some new programs. We reviewed all of this a month and a half ago, so I'm not going to go into it anymore, but I think the big thing for the people of Merrimack is to know that these staycations, things we can do it in Merrimack, are strongly supported by the town council, and those of us who are on the committee really appreciate that support. And finally, as the chairman of the House Resources, Recreation, and Development Committee, and a member of the Public Water Access Advisory Board and the State Park System Advisory Council, I'm still in the game. If you have questions from the state level or anything else that I can help with, I certainly hope you'll call me. Thank you. Thank you all.
Let it be noted that Peter Albert has joined us, and it is 7:50. Thank you, Chris, for all the time that you've put in for us. Appointments, none. Public hearing, none. Legislative update from state reps. You want to say anything while you're here, Chris?
Just a couple of quick items. Today was the last session day for this fiscal year. The House is not active until we start doing retained bill meetings in August. But we did pass a budget today. We passed the familiarly known Keno Garden Kit bill, and we had a lot of interest in House Bill 620, which had to do with education and an amendment to that bill that prohibited the Department of Education for taking on or promulgating rules that would result in downshifting of activities or finances to the town tax base. There was a lot of concern about that it was going to result in reduced services. That bill did not make it through the Senate today, so it never came to the House. But I know there were people that were concerned about that, and I think the issue was difficult to follow, if you will, because the state, under our Constitution, cannot put out rules and requirements that are not funded by the state, unfunded mandates, if you will. And so there was concern about something that's already in the Constitution, but for those who were worried about it, the bill didn't pass, and I'm happy for them. And I don't think there's anything else that's hugely exciting. That
I'm going to ask you a question.
Sure.
I probably should have given you a heads up. Can you give us a short explanation why the PFOA bill or the amendment to it was overturned or not approved? 30 words or less. I know it's a last
30
minute.
30 words or less?
I know
that's pretty tough.
I know it's a last minute
well,
request.
Here's the story, and maybe a little bit more than 30 words. We had House Bill 485, which set a specific limit on PFOAs. There was a lot of information that came, and it went through my committee. There was a lot of information that came after the House had paid that, or passed that bill, and had gone on to the Finance Committee. With all of that new information, the Finance Committee retained the bill to work on it in more depth, and it would come back in November, or they would report in November for it to come back to the House in January. The sponsor of the bill didn't like the fact that we wanted to study it more, lifted a good portion of the language and attached it to a bill that had to do with air-emitting devices that contaminate groundwater. It still had a lot of flaws in that amendment, which is why we had retained it in the first place. So I think you all saw a letter from I guess from yourselves, but written by Jim Taylor, with outlining some of the problems that the amendment had. Those issues were also echoed by New Hampshire Water Works, the Granite State Rural Water Association, and others who were in that business, as well as the New Hampshire Municipal Association. So with all of that in mind, the Committee of Conference would not pass that amendment, and because it was tied to the bill, the whole bill died, and that air emissions device, part of it will come back in the fall.
Okay. Excellent. Bill?
463 was the air emissions device, and that's part of
Yes.
the problem
Right.
with what town of Merrimack experienced with our inability to have DES be able to regulate what was being emitted out of Saint-Gobain. So this 463, I'm presuming if it had remained untouched, there was probably a good chance it would have gone through. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely accurate. It went through my committee, it went through Dick Barry's committee, and had strong support in the House, and it was good until the Senate decided to try and add that other bill back through the back door.
Okay. So that amendment addition stopped the original bill from passing?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay, any other questions? None. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very
I know it's
much.
last
Thank you,
minute.
Chris. Appreciate it.
Okay, there is no consent agenda. There is no old business, new business, committee appointments. As far as I know, there are not going to be any of these people here for the appointment.
Town manager's report?
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have anything to say? Go right ahead. Sorry about that. I turned the page sooner than I should have.
Okay. With the passage of Senate Bill 57 and signing by the governor, Merrimack will begin to receive state aid grant funding for the dewatering upgrade of the wastewater treatment facility, paid out over time. The total amount of this new money that we'll be receiving is $640,000 toward the bond that we'll receive over time. In order to catch up, because it's been on hold for a couple of years, we'll be getting $81,000 this year. So that was a nice, pleasant surprise, $640,000 that we weren't expecting. The town hall sidewalk reconstruction update. The work to reconstruct the sidewalks at Town Hall Complex are scheduled to begin on July 5th. The main entrance to the east and west wings of Town Hall will be closed between July 8th and 23rd. Access to the assessing and town clerk offices will be through my office, which is the door that says no public access, and then going up the concrete steps, and then the handicapped accessibility will be going through the council offices and on through our lovely kitchen and that kind of thing. So anyway, and that is about it. So we're going to try and get it done. They're going to try and get it done very quickly, but we don't have specific dates as to when that'll happen. The New Hampshire DOT is planning on paving operations in Merrimack this summer on Industrial Drive, exit 10 off of the Turnpike, and Continental Boulevard from Industrial Avenue to Route 101A. The work is scheduled to take place in August and will occur during the nighttime hours.
Thank God that's in really bad shape.
Yeah. That's yours.
I know. Do you want me to do that now?
You can do it whenever you want. You can do it whenever you want. Do it now. How about that?
Go right ahead, Tom. Yeah.
Eileen handed me the information about the planning board and activities around town because of my access to the planning board as a liaison. So there's been a lot of questions come up about the Executive Park Drive multifamily project in the old former Merrimack Hotel area. It's not finalized by any stretch of the imagination, so I can give you some of the facts about it to give you some idea of what's going on, but realize that everything is still being developed. Variances were granted by the ZBA to allow a 280-unit project to be developed there back in the May meeting. The project still has to go before the planning board for site plan review. It is not currently scheduled for a public hearing with the planning board, as it takes weeks or months to prepare fully engineered plans, drainage analysis, traffic impact analysis, etc. There was a discussion at the last planning board meeting about having a specific meeting just to talk about traffic. So if you're one of those people that's highly concerned about the traffic impacts, keep an eye on the agendas in the future for the planning board to see that come forward. On 6/16, staff met with DOT to scope the traffic study. A new traffic study is required for the application I just mentioned, and determine the intersections that need to be analyzed. So they're looking into what has to happen there. About 60% of the units would be 2-bedroom. The remainder would be 1-bedroom. This is just preliminary information. The project is intended to be quote-unquote market rate apartments with rents in the range of $1,600 to $1,800 a month. There is no intention to have subsidized units at the site to the best of our knowledge. It's likely that little additional information will be available until the formal application is submitted. So we're giving you everything we have, and you can ask, but we're not likely to have any more information until it comes before the planning board on a formal basis. In addition to that, plans for the Flatley multifamily project have been signed by the planning board, and construction is likely to start in the near future. That's up near the Homestead Restaurant in the north part of town, on that big hayfield that's out there right now. The applicant's allowed to build 4 out of the 5 buildings as part of the development agreement for a mixed-use project. The board approved that back in 2015. And additionally, this past Tuesday, New Hampshire Hydraulics on Columbia Circle was granted conditional approval by the planning board for a 9,600 square foot addition to their existing facility there. The project also requires ZBA relief for front setbacks due to the location of the existing facility. It actually encroaches on the front setback by a foot or two. They can move the whole addition back and be out of that, but then it would look funny and cost more. And so they're planning to go to the ZBA to get relief for that 1 or 2 foot encroachment into the front setback. What I saw of that plan, it looked like a very good, well thought out opportunity to clean up an area and to give them an expanded production area as well. So that's something to look forward to developing on Columbia Circle. That's all we have at this point.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Bill, did you have a question?
A question for my colleague, Tom. Will there be a discussion regarding the signalization at Executive Drive and in Amherst Road? Because that's something we've talked about throughout the years. So.
We talk about it every time anything happens, and I'm sure that will come up as part of any traffic study involved with that. But I don't know exactly where that's going to go at this point.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks, Tom.
Eileen, you have more?
Okay, yeah, sorry.
That's all right.
Hot off the press, one of our fire lieutenants, Lieutenant Dalton, recently retired, and the fire chief has gone through significant testing and various interviews and that kind of thing, and has decided to promote Master Firefighter Scott Bannister to what?
I'm sorry.
To lieutenant position. He's also a paramedic. He is a company officer. He started in 2001. He is a firefighter level 2, hazardous materials technician, rescue systems 1 and 2, swift water rescue technician, ice rescue technician, confined space technician, et cetera, bachelor's of science in nursing degree, and a registered nurse.
Wow.
So we're very pleased for Scott. He just received this information, and the staff just received this information today. So congratulations to Scott. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Eileen. Okay, now we'll move on to new business. We have several renewal committee appointments, and none are going to be here to take the oath. They will receive their oath from the town clerk at their leisure. And I would like to request perhaps that we just make one big motion to approve the following, and whoever makes it can say the names and what committee.
Madam Chair, I move that the town council appoint the following individuals to the respective town committees pursuant to Charter Article 4-8, to wit: Donald Minor Jr., Agricultural Commission, as a full member; Ronald Minor III, Agricultural Commission, as a full member; Anita Krieger to the Heritage Commission as a full member; Lon Woods to the Heritage Commission as a full member; Adonis Elfake, Technology Committee, as a full member; John Souter to the Technology Committee as a full member; Peter Flood to the Town Center Committee as a full member; and Bill Wilkes to the Town Center Committee as a full member.
Motion made by Bill Boyd, second by Peter Albert. Any discussion?
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for continuing your service to these committees. It's appreciated.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nothing. 7-0-0. And I'm passing around signature pages for these appointments. Okay, just to let everyone know, there are some renewal dates, expiration dates on when the planning board, the ZBA, and the Conservation Commission all require interviews to be renewed. So we are in the midst of doing that, and hopefully our goal is to have all those interviews done and prepared for reappointment by the July meeting. Right?
Yep.
At least we're going to try, aren't we? Okay. 5. Oh, okay. Could we take a quick 5-minute break? Thank you. Okay, I'd like to reconvene now. We're going to have an Eagle Scout project presentation submitted by Life Scout Mason Landry. Welcome. Town Council to be presented with Mason Landry's Eagle Scout project idea to renovate the Merrimack Middle School outdoor classroom area. It's all yours.
Tonight I'm going to tell you about...
Make sure the microphone, is it really bright green?
Okay. There.
And bring it closer to you a little bit more. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. So tonight I'm going to talk to you about my project that I plan on doing. It's, as she said, it's at the Merrimack Middle School outdoor classroom. It's directly behind the middle school, if you haven't been there. It's in the area with Greater Woods, and it looks like that currently. I believe that was done 11 years ago.
That long, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The wood held up slightly well for non-pressure treated, but as you can see, it's been torn down a lot over time. So for this project, I'm going to be removing the benches and kind of cleaning up the area. I'm also going to be having to dig holes in the area to set up concrete posts for the benches. The concrete posts will last a lot longer than the wooden logs that were cut. Plus, it's a lot harder to make a hornet's nest in a concrete post than a wooden log. So it's kind of also a safety reason. Luckily, there's nothing like that up there yet, but that's kind of why I want to do this. If you look over here, this is right behind a large grove of trees that's right in front of the classroom area. Now, what I want to do is I want to cut down some of the trees standing in front of the classroom. Most of them are about 3 inches thick, so they're not going to be that hard to cut down. It'll actually probably have a positive effect because they're all so close together. There's going to be a lot of things dying. Obviously, I'm not going to cut down any of the large pine trees or oak trees that are already standing there, but I will be kind of clearing it out. There's a lot of shrubs. I'm going to be clearing out those also. Now, for the project, I'm going to have 10 benches. There's going to be, as you can see here, there's going to be an 11, 10, a 9, an 8, and a 7 on each side. If you can see the presentation currently, you'll see that it's arranged in an amphitheater. I believe it was arranged like that beforehand. So I want to kind of maintain that, and it'll be a lot easier for a classroom to be conducted there. At the bottom, there will be a 4-foot-long teacher's bench. It'll be about 8 feet away from the front row, so that they'll have plenty of room to teach, and they won't be interrupted by children playing around in the front. So these benches, they're going to be 2 by 12s, so there's going to be a wide seating spot for each child, and I planned out 2 feet for each child sitting there, and if I planned that out, it would be approximately 42 people that could fit on those benches. Obviously, not all the kids are going to be 2 feet wide, so there's going to be a lot more capacity than that. So, yeah. So it'll be a very practical and useful outdoor classroom. You could probably fit a couple classes out there. Now, for a couple of the details, the financial part of it, it's going to cost roughly $1,200, and that's going to include all the parts, materials, and yeah, basically that. Unfortunately, I don't have the cost for like an excavator because I don't know the fuel efficiency on that. But to cover all this finance, we're going to have to do a lot of fundraising. I'll lead a pancake breakfast, including the scouts from my troop. I'll reach out to other troops to kind of get some help, and hopefully I'll get a lot of help with that, and I'll also reach out to businesses and ask for donations and hardware for the actual project if they can. I'm also going to be asking around to sawmills and lumber stores, like Reed's Ferry Lumber. I've heard they have discounts for Eagle Scout projects, so I'm gonna ask them definitely. So it can go down. Obviously, with the excavator, it might go up. So I'm just gonna watch that very closely. Are there any questions?
Is this actually on conservation property or is it on school property?
I believe it is on town. I went through the conservation committee.
That's what I was going to ask.
On Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've already presented to them?
Yes, I have.
Excellent. Okay. Questions?
Yes, thank you.
Finley, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mason. I haven't been there in a few years, though when I was about your age, I would go down and skate in a great pond, which has since disappeared because the beavers vacated and the dam blew out. Is it turning into, I know it's a meadow, they call it a meadow, has it started to grow trees, and will it become a forest at some point, and then the view of the meadow will be non-existent? So because I haven't been there, could you tell me what you think of that?
I believe it is a little bit marshy. There is some water still there. If you can look at the picture, there's some, obviously you can't see it in this, but off to the right there were some cattails growing in some of the marshy areas. So I think it will take a while for some developed trees to grow there. So yeah, it'll probably last as long, if not more, than the benches.
The benches. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Tom?
Bill had something.
Bill, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Mason, thank you so much for the presentation. Just a quick question, kind of dovetailing off what the chairman was saying regarding the Concom. Have you outreached to the school board to let them know what you're doing?
I believe she was there in my initial presentation for the project. I think she is supporting.
Who is she?
Shannon Barnes.
Probably Shannon Barnes?
The chair of the school?
Sharon, yeah.
Okay, so so you did present it to the school as well?
Not to the board.
Okay, but was she at the conservation meeting? Gage, go right ahead.
Mason presented this project to the Greater Woods Subcommittee.
You need to be able to.
Mason presented this project to the Greater Woods Subcommittee first,
Okay.
and Shannon is the as a member of that. So she's
Gotcha.
she's been aware of this project, and then he went from there and then came to this Concom for the,
Excellent.
for the presentation.
Okay, that explains how she got involved. Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
Any other questions? John?
Maybe I missed the detail. Could you tell us a little bit more about the benches? Are you putting in just 2 concrete posts or multiple posts every 3 or 4 feet? Or how are you planning to support those benches?
I plan on doing something like every 3 or 4 feet. Obviously, the longer ones I'm going to put in 3 posts, so the wood itself will last longer. For like the 8 and 7, I might just put in 2. I think, yeah, I did put a plan in. The 11 through 9 will be 3 posts holding it up.
Okay, and you're making this out of 2x12 lumber?
Yep.
Did you say pressure treated, or you didn't say?
I'm going with either pressure treated or spruce if we can find it in the sawmills. So yeah, that's kind of how it's going to go.
And were you planning to do anything to treat it, to stain it or paint it, or just leave it natural?
I think we're going to leave it natural.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
No. Okay. Okay, we need to have a motion to approve.
Madam Chair, I move that the town council endorse Life Scout Mason Landry's proposed Eagle Scout project to renovate the Merrimack Middle School outdoor classroom, and furthermore, should he need anything to be signed by the town manager and/or her proxy, that the council authorize the manager and/or her proxy to do so.
Motion made by Bill Boyd, second by
Second.
Tom Koenig.
One last question of the applicant.
Go right ahead.
Where's your scout troop?
It's in Merrimack. It's Troop 401.
Which is?
We're chartered out of St. James Church, right across from the homestead.
Yep,
Yeah.
wonderful, excellent.
Nice.
Excellent. This is the best part of our job, getting to hear you talk tonight. And I've said that before,
true.
and I don't mean to
It's
be
true.
redundant, but it's true.
It's true.
Thank you.
It is great projects. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, 700. And there's usually a form that I have to sign for you.
Early on in this process.
If you don't, then somewhere
Yeah.
down the road, you probably have the town manager sign it.
Okay.
It's a release form that you've already presented information to the
To the
legislative board in the town. And
So, Madam Chair, in Life Scout Landry's proposal, he says the next Eagle Board meeting is in August, so I'm presuming once the Eagle Board meets in August, then the form will find its way to Town Hall, at least that.
I'm not sure if that form needs to be signed for the board or not.
Okay, fair enough.
Right,
Yeah,
so
it's
just
part
to,
of his job.
so you don't have it with you, and that's fine.
Okay.
At some point there, you'll need to get a signature.
Yes.
Okay, well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you.
for,
Good luck. Thank
you
you,
did a good
Mason.
job.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Okay, the next on the agenda, presentation of property purchase by the Merrimack Conservation Commission, submitted by Merrimack Conservation Commission Chairman Gage Perry. Merrimack Conservation Commission would like to present the intended purchase of the waterfront property off of Karen Ave known as tax map parcel 3D-1/003.
Madam Chair, just a point of order.
Yep.
Just for my own slightly morbid curiosity. As a part of the packet, we have non-public minutes reflected from March 23rd. Were these ever unsealed?
I couldn't find that they were ever sealed.
Okay. So you and I are on the same page, so I appreciate that.
So these were available for distribution because they weren't sealed.
And so, yeah, that's
Right.
fine. Okay, thank you.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hello.
We meet again.
Anytime you're ready, go right ahead.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
If I could just actually take a quick moment to, Mason's already left. He presented this project to the subcommittee and to the Concom with great review on both committees. Since that time.
Either you have to get closer to the mic or you have to turn it on.
It's on. Okay.
You just need to be closer, that's all.
So it was met with great fanfare on our part. And since that time, if you're familiar with that area at all, there's a steep path that goes down to what's the Powell Brook that runs between Bambi Trail and the classroom, and that since a bridge has been installed on there too. So now we have it's quite a bit of foot traffic goes through there into the school on a regular basis. So and while we were building it, we had quite a few kids coming across. So this is going to be a nice addition to have that all tied in together now.
Nice.
This is the beavers in back.
Yeah, and Finley, to your comment, the Beaver Meadow is growing. There is quite a bit of tree growth on the edges, but there is now also chew down in the stream bed again. So they may be back.
Oh, so the beavers, there's some.
Yeah.
It was a great pond for a long time.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah,
Might be back.
the kids we skated up there all the time. So it's coming back.
Yeah.
So. Okay, in front of you here, and you can see it. But, so the MCC, and this is Mike Bouvier, is a member of the Concom with myself, and he's been the major negotiator with the Scalar family on this property. So this parcel is, as we said, down in Merrimack, on the Merrimack River, and we've come to an agreement with the Sklar family. We got a signed purchase and sale, and we had our public hearing at the last regular meeting. And we're now up to this point here where we're in coming before you to acquire this property. So by the powers of the Chapter 36A, :4, the commission may acquire in the name of the city or town, subject approval of the governing body, which is you, the purchase in fee for such land or water rights within the boundaries of the municipality. So that's what we're here for, is to get your final approval for purchasing this parcel. These are just the RSAs, the focus points that we use to make this. This is the copy of the legal notice that went out for the public hearing. It was in the Union Leader, and the prerequisite time of, I believe it was 10 days prior to the meeting. So we went through, Becky was very helpful down there and made sure we had all of our ducks in a row, so it was quite helpful. This is a little bit about the parcel itself. That picture, we're standing where we believe may be the original Thornton's Ferry Landing. So this parcel, if you go back and look at the history of it, it's an old parcel, and there's been a lot of activity down there. So it's about 30 acres, and it's floodplain. It's got a very interesting topography of it. It's floodplain for over by the boat landing, and then it rises up quite high and has a very high bluff looking out over the river. So it's quite a pretty area. And it's got a lot of changes to it, which are very interesting. It's adjacent parcel to the boat ramp now. I know Kyle's planning on moving that, but that boat ramp is a piece of concrete that's going to stay there for some period of time. This has been a parcel that's been on our key to obtain. It's been a key point, a parcel for us to obtain. It's been on the town list since Andy Powell was the commissioner, and that was back, he put it on the list back in the 92, I believe, when the Clara Scar was still alive, and he was dealing with her, and there was a chance of that parcel being developed, and at the time they were trying to sell it for over $1 million. So it's been quite a different sale now. The details of the purchase, prior to even getting involved in the plan to purchase this, we had a level 1 assessment done of the site. The local company GZA went through and did an environmental assessment. They didn't find any problems with the soils. They didn't find any, no buried drums, nothing to be alarmed of. So at this point, they said it's not worthwhile to go through a level 2 unless you have some real concerns. The history of the site, there was no construction, there was no industrial work done down there, and they felt very confident that it was a safe area. So we moved forward. We're going to use Fund 53 and to pay for this. It's the purchase price and the assessed value are the same as at 154. We're picking up all the lawyers' fees and taxes for the Sklar families and for the transfer of the property. So we're expecting this final bill to be something around the 156 mark right there. We'll know for sure on the 28th of this month if we go that far, we're going to be going to closing and we'll be having a final bill, but that's what we're expecting it to be. The deed that we're proposing is very similar to what we've been doing on our other lands, certainly what we've acquired and the ones in that area. So it's a very conservation-based. The Sklar family would like it to stay that way too. They want it to keep in the woods, in a conservation easement. So we're going to keep that in the deed. I have it in the purchase and sale, and you can certainly have copies of it. I believe Paul's got a copy of it, so it's available to you all if you'd like to look at it further. It's going to be called the Sklar Waterfront Park. As I said, it's 30 acres. So this is something we're going to be working with Parks and Rec on to provide little activities down there and something. It's a little relatively small parcel for the Conservation Commission, and it's pretty well contained in an area. So the trails and such they're not going to be long. It's going to be a small small park. So it's going to be something that's probably going to be fit more into the Parks and Recs venue for activities. As I said, we had the public meeting just the other day. We had no concerns and no one come to address us, so it was, and the
was a
Concom
quick
voted.
meeting.
Yeah, the Concom voted unanimously to move ahead, so that's why we're here. This is just a quick picture of the parcel itself. That kind of light green parcel. I don't think I have you can see where I can't really point to it. Oh, the pointer's not working. There's a light green parcel there. That's the Scalar property. Right above it is the parcel that we own now. Is where the boat ramp is. And if you look on the, I guess on your right, that yellow line on there is the trail that Mike and I walked. That pin is about the parking area, and when you walk down to the boat ramp, you can see where I walked all the way out to the river, and that's about where the boat ramp is. And that parcel walks all the way down, and the picture that you saw, again, is if you look further on down the bend in the river, it looks like I walked out into the river.
Yeah.
That was at a very low, that was last summer, with very low water. And that was where that picture was taken, and that we believe is potentially the original Thornton's Ferry landing. So, why is this important? The Merrimack River is one of the protected water sources, and we, as a Concom and as a town, feel it's very important to protect any of the properties around that. And certainly that one where there's a lot of industrial work on the backside. We thought this is a great buffer area, and certainly one that's going to be well used by the public if they can get down there and get in that area. It's a beautiful area. It's an open space. If you get a chance to go down there, there's a lot of bird activity down there. You can go down there in the wintertime. There's a lot of otters down there now, and it's quite an interesting area. So it's wildlife. It's got even considering what's right behind it, the industrial right behind it, it's well used by the critters, so we like it. Again, we feel it's very historically significant. The area it is, we know whether it's truly that's the landing. We're going to have to do some research to find that out, but that goes back into the 1780s, back when this was the New Dunstable and we were part of Massachusetts. So this has got some good history to it. So we're kind of excited to get this, try to get the Anita involved and see if we can get some real good history on this.
I sure love that.
Yeah. And the most important is they're just not making riverfront property anymore. We're done. We've got it. We've got all we're going to get. So if we have a chance to own this, certainly, as the commission, we looked at this and said, I don't want to be the one to look at my kids and think, yeah, we passed that up. Right. We just walked away from it. So we thought this was an important acquisition. We personally, the Scalar family, has been dealing with Mike for quite a long time and dealing with the Concom for quite a long time. They've been very patient. As we've kind of learned, kind of bobbled our way through this, trying to figure out how we're supposed to make this work. And we'd just like to, give them a little shout out to their patience and how the importance they thought on the conservation, how that property was. So it made this work. They had the opportunity to sell this at a higher price, and they sold it to us instead. So
nice.
We just thought we want to just give them an appreciation for that. As I said, we are here to gain your final approval for this, so we can move forward. We have some dates set up for doing the signing,
doing the paperwork.
So as long as you're all okay with it, we'd like to move forward. Any questions?
Dan, you had some.
I just want to say I'm fully endorsing the project, and thank you and the commissioner for doing it. But like you said, they're not making any more riverfront property. But as all of us know, our whole town borders the river, and there is nothing. It can't be said enough that this is truly a unique piece of land that takes you to the river. There just isn't another access point that is as user-friendly as this one is. And the fact that it has 30 acres, I know in your scheme of things and what you guys do, that's a small piece of land. But again, it's the draw of the river and the access to it that makes it worthwhile. Just can't, thank you very much for negotiating with the Schuyler family and all, but very much happy with everything that where this is going, so appreciate it.
Good.
Any other? Peter?
I'm very, very familiar with this property. Spent a lot of time down there, as some of my former colleagues.
Yeah.
It's nice, I like the property. I'm just curious, the access, you're not taking the property from the radio control folks, right?
No.
They have their
No,
own
this is
separate-
beyond,
Okay.
beyond that. They're in the field. You drive past it to get down to where that parking lot is.
Now, where are you guys thought about where the parking lot will be right next to radio control right there? Is there gonna be a formal parking lot or something?
That's a good question. So, the parcel right now is owned by the town, where the parking would be. So we have not really gone that far as to lay out what the road surface is gonna be, how big the parking lot, where it's gonna be. There's some area down there that looks like it would be a good fit for a parking area. It would require us to clear some trees, not much, and it's certainly not anything, not like a timber harvest, because as you know, getting under that bridge and over there is going to be a challenge to do any type of development. So it would be small stuff. So it's not really going to be. It wouldn't be a big timber harvest, but it would be some type of work, and it would have to be done by smaller vehicles that we can get in there. So it's going to be. It's a design.
Is that dirt turnaround area, is that part of town land at the end of the road?
Yes. Right.
Now,
this is.
that existing roadway down to the boat ramp, is the Conservation Commission intend to keep that open and use for boaters and so forth?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, the town parcel is right above this. This is contiguous. This is right below the Scholar property, that light green piece is below the town parcel. And that's, we're not going to, we're going to treat it as one, but it's not going to be affected. The town parcel's not going to be changed.
And I'm sorry, I don't want to.
Go right ahead.
But, and I guess my other question is that the passive recreation, I guess I'm kind of looking for a definition of what you guys would call passive recreation.
That is posted now as private property by the Scholar family. They've posted it as no motor vehicles. And so we're going to continue with that same philosophy. So the passive recreation will be human-powered, bicycles, horses, walking. There's not going to be allowed for any to discharge of firearms in the area. There's still going to be able to fish, but there's going to be no firearms, no bow. So it's more user-friendly or community-friendly activities that you can just let kids go use and do without having to have coordinaries off or for safety's sake.
I mean, I guess, and it's gonna, I'll tell you, there's gonna have to be an educational period because, I mean, for 40, 50 years, OHRVs have been using that,
Yep.
and you can just see by all the trails.
Oh.
Big four-wheelers, I swear, we get 2 or 3 that get bogged down in the mud.
Yep.
It's just gonna be a whole learning period, and,
Well, the brook comes out of, you can see there's a small brook coming out of Horseshoe Pond, and it comes out and goes up to Merrimack. They're currently driving across that now, which DES and Fish and Game have both been down there and they're waiting for us to make this official, but they're ready to start citing. And they have, the Fish and Game already goes down and tickets people for citations for crossing that stream and for activities in there, because it's posted as no motor vehicles. And it's started to get better, but yes, there's going to be an enforcement issue down there. It's going to be a challenge.
yeah. And one last thing, and that's it. I'm just curious if you guys are gonna allow an archaeological dig around for the
That is in the deed. Historical activities are specifically listed in deed as something that we're going to allow and foster.
Thank you.
Nice. Yeah. Jackie, then Finley.
I'm really super pleased about this, as many other people are too. I think one of you will have to dress up though, like Matthew Thornton once a year, stand by that ferry slip.
Yeah, right.
I was wondering, since the town owns this other parcel, whether you ever discussed or thought about consolidating those two parcels into a joint governance.
Makes a lot of sense.
No, have we gone that far? No.
Yeah,
because right now it's used as the boat ramp, so people are driving down through there and launching their crafts,
We'll
which is
have
fine.
another one though. We'll
Yeah.
have another boat ramp.
Right.
Eventually, not too long from now. But like Pete here, I've been down in there a couple times, and it's just a horrible mess, the town-owned part. And is the Sklar parcel also a dumping ground?
I didn't see a lot of dumping down there. There's a lot of activity.
A lot of
And
activity.
There's a lot of four-wheel activity.
What is it, Nancy?
I just call it the scouring of the earth.
Right.
It's all dirt and then just
that's all-
around the roots of the trees. It's
Particularly
sad.
where it meets up with this town parcel, it's very low in floodplain.
Right.
So
It
the
gets wet in the
silts are, the ground is very silty and soft. I mean, you can just go pick up a handful of it. It's almost like sand. Once it gets higher, and it gets quite high and meets up by the railroad tracks, you can walk along that and look out over the river. And it's firm, walking. It's a walking path. They're not driving way up there. So it's only in the low floodplain area that's an issue.
Yeah, because I can see some future benefits.
Yes.
oh yeah.
We've worked with the town before in clearing properties like this. Most recently we took over what we used to call the shooting pit up in back of Greater Woods. The town's been very helpful getting us a truck, and we've got really great response of folks coming in to do cleanup. So the area can get cleaned up. It probably get cleaned up mostly in a day. There's a large couch in there. I think might be a little more difficult to get out, but it'll.
How did it get in?
Right?
Go ahead, Pete.
I'm just thinking about this one last thing. I know there was a makeshift bridge to get out to the boat ramp, and I don't know how. I think the town built that, correct?
Well, it should be a good bridge because they spent some real money on it.
Yeah,
That's our bridge to nowhere.
The old bridge was collapsing, but this, I haven't been down in a little while myself, but it shouldn't be makeshift, it should be an actual.
Yeah, I'm not sure I know where the makeshift bridge is.
Is it adjacent to the old bridge? I mean, you can see an old bridge.
There's a very old bridge that's like off in the woods.
Yeah, so,
Well, I'm talking about the road leading to the boat ramp. I know the town built.
Yeah, it's a
Natticook.
It's a substantial road. I mean, we drive a car right down there in a
It's
truck
kind of our
and trailer.
bridge to nowhere,
I just said,
kind of. It was built, I thought it was built to a standard for vehicles to go over and was a real bridge, and then just nothing materialized beyond it. There've been conversations, quite a few conversations about it, and then Kyle spoke to the council about
The alternative.
down at Mass Road, down at the sewer plant. So, so that's, so that bridge is there, but I think, for me, the combining doesn't, I don't see it one way or another as a big deal, but I was curious, for a clarification for me, is the scarring, the word used is what I would use, is that similar to is the Sklar property similar to the town-owned property in that regard? Because it is a mess.
I can't believe the trees are still alive because their roots are so exposed.
The activities aren't concerned about the boundaries.
So the Sklar property looks like the town property?
The low part of it
the
does,
floodplain.
yes.
Right,
The
in the
floodplain section is.
Because it is all, very fine, silty stuff.
The uplands, the higher bluff
It's
is
not a
not
problem.
as near as bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Because that's something that's going to
If you
have
go,
a conversation.
if you
on.
go there now,
That'll be a
stay on the
separate-
trail, there's lots of poison ivy.
Yeah.
Stay on the trail.
Because I didn't find a lot of garbage per se. It was just
Soil.
hardcore wear and tear.
Yeah, right in the initial parking lot, and what's we're calling the parking lot.
Right.
there's a large backstop, and people are using it to, shoot against. So there's some items there that need to be removed. But once you get into the property, I didn't see a lot of trash. There was, there's some, but there's not. It wasn't. I'm not sure what you saw.
No, I'm just
What you
talking about
seen.
the soil,
okay.
not trash.
All right.
No, I don't remember seeing trash either. It's just that the soil is
Yeah.
Some really deep
really
ruts.
Yeah.
gouges, just
Yeah.
gouges.
Yeah.
Did you want to, Dan?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. This is this is the beginning stages of this park. So obviously, and I can
Right.
tell where Peter was going about what's going on there now. There's going to be an educational transition of the activity that's been going on for decades is going to cease. It will. One, because we're going to, at budget time, we're going to be talking about our park and rec budget. There's going to be money spent on that road where it's going to be more inviting. Right now, you go down, it is ugly and it's been damaged, but we're not going to obviously have a park in Merrimack with our name to it, to this beautiful location looking like that. So I'm not making assumptions, because I know a lot of us have talked about that in the future, that if this was ever to happen, we were going to have to gravel that road with some proper road gravel and have access. And the police patrols, police patrols are up on Wasserman Park. Once the parking lot was developed down by the water line, they now make more of a regular routine to go down there. So the same kind of philosophy I see what happened to Wasserman Park, being more inviting to the public and more money being invested into parks, is obviously more policing in our community to make sure that vandalism and things like that don't happen to all the things that we're investing in. So if I'm jumping ahead, I think that's what the bigger picture here of that location was all about, was it will look a lot better, but it will stay better because it's being protected and being patrolled in a proper manner.
Eileen?
We have, just as a kind of a side note, we have been talking amongst ourselves, the Conservation Commission and Captain Dudash, Tim Thompson and Paul and myself, about now that we're gaining more and more property, that we're going to need to be doing more random patrols, and so we're getting started with that fairly soon. And we'll be making arrangements for that right away.
Finley?
And if the state fish and game,
That's
I'd
right.
love for them
Exactly.
to do it, because I think Pete has spoken about, it really has to be a detailed situation, because taking them off the street, the prepping, getting into the woods, and all that. So I don't know how that works, but if the state.
Fish and Game patrols this weekly.
Oh, good.
But the trouble is, they can go down there and they can be down there for 15, 20 minutes and nobody's there. They leave and, 5 minutes later somebody shows up. So, but they're down there weekly, and they have issued, they issue fines regularly, citations regularly.
Good.
Okay. Yes.
And just to touch upon what Finley and Dan were saying, I know the police department over the years, we've tried our best to get into the various properties. But there's always that battle of pulling a guy out of his sector in a populated area, handling calls, and having him too far in the woods. And that was my concern, and I'm hoping, as the town manager said, I'm hoping that that's what we're strategizing about.
Yes, that's exactly so. To have patrols go out that are on overtime, that aren't working the regular shift, because we
Not being
realize
pulled.
how important it is to not do that.
These are going to be focused on, these are going to be focused patrols. We do owe the chief some maps. He just came before the Concom on Monday night, so we're working to get a set of maps. We just had the maps redone, so a little shameless plug, merrimackoutdoors.org. The new maps will be up there relatively soon. We're going to be able to get the hot spots, like this is where we're having issues, this is where, so when they go out there, they're going out to a specific area that we know we have an issue, and just that presence should at least start knocking that down.
Dan?
I'd like to make a motion.
Yep.
I'd like to, I'm sorry, Tom.
Do you have a question?
Before you-
Sorry.
I very much like what you're doing here, and I appreciate it, so I don't want you to take anything negative out of this. But you mentioned in here that you already have come up with a name for this. And we do have a naming policy in the town of Merrimack, and I just wanted to know how critical the name that you're talking about is to this program going forward.
It was pretty critical to the family. So that was part of, they wanted it written into the deed and into the purchase and sale.
Written into the deed?
Written into the purchase and sale. So it's in the purchase and sale. It's the Scholar Waterfront Park. So we can name other parts of it and just include that. We've told them that you know, there's going to be other people involved in this. So certainly it's the Thornton's Ferry Landing too. That's a pretty important attribute to capitalize on.
It was part of the reason why we were able to get it at that price, was the naming rights.
But I don't, okay.
Go ahead.
Just me, I don't think we are giving away the naming rights at this point, or I didn't know we were giving them away. I didn't think that was negotiated at this point. So I'm a little surprised to see that done here and offered as such as a coup de grace. But
No.
I don't know if anybody else has thoughts on it. But.
Jackie?
Yes, as somebody who is one of the namers, our naming policy, I don't have it with me now, but does allow for this. It allows, if we can obtain a parcel, at this point, the Sklar family is convinced that it's a discount, and it perhaps is, they can request it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Elaine?
Or they could have,
And the council
they could have
just has to
requested
grant
Matthew
it.
Thornton, or
I just was under the impression from our policy that the town council was responsible for naming, not deeds or.
yes, we
Concom,
are
but-
with a final arbiter. Parks and Rec, it should run through Parks and Rec first, and we're the final arbiter, but in this case, this is one of the exceptions, a gift.
It's written into the policy.
Yes, it is. I'll show it to you, Tom. I
Okay.
don't have it with me.
And you're saying $154,000 is a gift? I just want to understand.
You are right. I hear you. As soon as I said that, I thought, oops, it certainly isn't. But they certainly do regard that this is a, I missed that too. They do regard it as a.
Decreased price.
A discount.
A discounted price.
Okay. Thank you.
Finley?
And this is a question that I suspect I asked when we were first talking about these negotiations, and so I have a second part as well. Was that a buildable parcel? Was my first question. And my second question is, seems to be in your one map an empty parcel to the south of it. I don't know if it's empty or not. It appears to be.
It's privately owned.
Okay, it showed no structures as.
There's no structures on it.
Okay.
It's private, but it is privately owned.
And it's accessible through a road, through?
The only, so at the very bottom of the picture, you can see there's a small lot line coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is at the bottom of Star Drive, and there is a crossing there.
Right.
That is again, that is private property, and the gentleman who owns that crossing is the only one that has the key.
Right.
And that's that's an agreement between him and Pan Am. He's the only one that's allowed to go. He has to go open that gate and go across it. So it's not a public crossing. It's gated and locked all the time. The only way over those tracks is on the road now.
That's PSNH. PSNH is in charge of that gate.
They own the property, but they don't own the gate.
No, PSNH is in charge of that gate right now while the construction's going on.
Last I recall, there was some issues with the gentleman that owns that private property right just north of PSNH station, so.
Yeah, that's this one.
Yeah. And I thought after all the research, I was under the impression.
He's got permission to cross that. I don't, if he owns the gates or not, he's got permission to go across the river, so he's got a key to that gate.
I got you.
But he's the only one that's got the key. He has to be the one he can't give it to someone else and let them go use it. He's got to go. So it's a little sticking point with Pan Am. But the parcel above it, which you're referring to, is privately owned, and the access to it is via the trails across, running perpendicular to the tracks, or running parallel with the tracks, or the Star Drive, or the access that we have from the boat ramp.
So not necessarily developable unless somebody was able to get Pan Am to make a change.
That's true. Or they want to try to get as much as they can under that little bridge.
Well, then they'd have to have our permission.
And then they have to get our permission. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's the only two access points to that.
Yeah. See, because I don't have a problem with the name, but I saw this, the town had it as the assessed value, and I considered it to be pretty accurate assessment, because it is limited as to what you can do, because of the access.
Yep.
And so, I don't have real heartburn over it, but I can appreciate your point.
Yeah, I don't have heartburn over it, and I haven't had heartburn over a lot of other opportunities, but there have been situations where names have been promulgated.
Right.
And inappropriately, in my opinion, and I just wanted to make sure we weren't giving away the farm by saying we don't care about naming anymore.
Right, because I don't know what you're speaking about specifically, but I do have specifics in my own mind that, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So just some history, the Conservation Commission, like 8 years ago, offered around 300 for this property.
Was the council part of the conversation?
I
didn't remember. It might have been before I
This
was
is
there.
Andy Powell.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
Well, it wasn't accepted, so they wanted more.
It was in
They
the,
wanted more at the
it
time.
was in the key, it's one of the key parcels to obtain, and that was what was presented to the council, was that there's a list of there's a priority list.
Okay.
Because I do like the parcel, and I'm happy
Yeah.
that we're able to have worked this out.
So at that time, that was Clara Scolar was still alive, and the negotiations broke down at around the $500,000 mark.
Okay. Jackie?
Yeah, I'm also worried that that I think I was going along on a misapprehension myself about the name. And you've been through cases when it was an unfortunate, I think, occurrence. Was there anything that they specified in regard to the name, too? Did they want to be involved in it at all?
They wanted it to be the three surviving sons wanted this property to be kind of like a memorial to their parents.
Yep.
So Clara used to own it when she was alive, and that's when another offer was made some years back. So they wanted, it was important. They wanted to have somehow
Some recognition.
that memorial.
Yeah. In my opinion, this parcel is only good for what it's going to be used for. I don't think it's buildable at all. Do you? I don't think that there's any part of it that would be buildable.
Yeah, the flooding itself is.
Oh,
yeah.
no, on the southern end of it, it's high.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's very high.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and if you could get access to it, either by the train or whatever, and get materials out there and get it built, I mean, it'd be a beautiful place to live. But
Right.
you can't get to it.
Railroad tracks or wherever.
Yeah.
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 Yes, Dan?
I'd like to make a motion
Yep, go for it.
that the council approval of the purchase of tax map parcel 3D-1, lot 003, and to authorize the town manager to sign all documents on behalf of the town which are necessary to complete the transfer and the acceptance of this purchase.
Motion made by Dan Dwyer, second by
Seconded.
Bill Boyd. Any further? Go ahead, Dan.
I just wanted to say that I hope all of us, I think we're all in the same agreement that the condition, when we take on a project like this, that there's future plans, and I'm sure there'll be a subcommittee on the design and the road construction and the parking lot, all that will come later, and I can assure everybody in town that, once we take on parks in town, that they're to be taken care of. So that I have the full confidence and faith that that's what we do, we always have. Maybe not so good in some other decades or whatever, but there seems to be more of a renewal if you're going to have a park like Wasserman Park or Watson Park, that we take care of the things that we have. So that's what my vision is. I completely hear Peter's concerns of the past of what's been going on down there, but I fully have the faith of the future that it's just going to be transformed, and that past is going to be in the past of the way it was treated.
Nice. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay. 6-1-0, Tom Koenig in opposition. Okay, thank you very much,
Thank you.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
If I could just quickly address, Dan brought up a good point. I'd just like to
Absolutely, go
address
right
this
ahead.
really quickly. The properties around town that, when we take them over, if you, like Greater Woods, I think is a great example of that. It was the Wild West out there. And as people have, we've made trails, people have got into it, and there's been actual people out there, that activity has dropped off considerably. This parcel, nobody goes down there. And once we start having people down there and using it, I think a lot of that activity is gonna dissipate also. So that's what we've been seeing everywhere where we've done this in the park. So.
Okay, good point.
And that river is also being used in the summer as a water source, a drinking water source. So it's important to protect that shoreline.
Yeah, agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, next on the agenda, donation acceptance for the Merrimack Police Department. Town Council to consider the acceptance and expenditure of a donation in the amount of $2,405.29 from Merrimack Crime Line. And I'll have you address that. Captain Mike Dudash. Oops, Eileen.
I would just like to thank you for waiting all night for this small thing. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. As you know, we had our open house back in early May, and during that open house, annually the Crime Lane people come to us and give us a donation from their magic show. So this year, Crime Line presented us a check of $2,405.29 to be used towards the K-9 program, which covers expenses from insurance to equipment to outfitting the vehicle, outfitting the officer for certain equipment that deals with the K-9 officer. So I'm asking if you would accept that $2,405 check and 29 cents.
Excellent. Motion? Approximately. Peter?
I just want to say the Crime Line continues to support the K-9 program. They've been great. I know most of the folks over there and appreciate all their help over the years and the continued help and support to the police department. So I just wanted to give them a shout out on that, and that's about it.
Excellent. Motion?
Madam Chair, I move that the Town Council accept and expend a donation in the amount of $2,405.29 from Merrimack Crime Line, Inc. that was raised at the annual Crime Line Magic Show to be used for the Merrimack Police Department's K-9 program pursuant to 31:95-B and Charter Article 8-15. Furthermore, that the town manager or her proxy be authorized to sign any paperwork necessary to expend the monies.
Motion made by Bill Boyd, second by Peter Albert. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, 7-0-0.
Thank you. Just
Thank
for the
you
record,
very
I was
much,
told by
Captain.
Judy from Crime Line, this is over $20,000 raised. So that's quite a bit of money.
Yeah, they're hard workers.
Thanks a lot to the Crime Line. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Okay, donation acceptance for the Parks and Recreation Department. Town Council to consider the acceptance and expenditure of a donation in the amount of $400 from Bear Christensen Charitable Trust to the Parks and Recreation Department to be used for the Camp Scholarship Fund pursuant to RSA 31:95-B and Charter Article.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made by Bill Boyd, second by Dan Dwyer. Any further discussion?
With thanks to the Christensen family.
With thanks, absolutely. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, 7-0-0. Okay, approval of the minutes for the following town council, June 8th, 2017.
There's a
Point of order.
you didn't mention.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. The disposal of tax-dated properties has been omitted because that has been resolved.
The person purchased it back.
Which is nice to hear. Nice to hear. Thank you for bringing that up. I had already had it crossed off my agenda. Now we can go into the minutes. June 8th, 2017.
Madam Chair, move the Thursday, June 8th, 2017 Town Council meeting minutes. The following changes.
Go right ahead.
Page 3, line 5. Commission is used twice. I don't know what was supposed to be in parentheses, but
Oh. So,
We referred future as just commission instead of
Yes.
as the agriculture.
That's what it is.
That's to imply that the future reference will be just to the commission, not to the agricultural commission. If you notice later on, like line 10, earlier this year, the commission completed.
oh, so that's just a
But-
notation.
Here
yeah,
too.
but look at, I mean, you can go to page 2, it says Agricultural Commission, then it says Commission. Then the top of page 3, it says Agricultural Commission, followed by the Merrimack Agricultural Commission. It's
Well, yeah.
Mistake.
It may be late, it may be wrong. I'm just guessing that's why they put it there.
It
fair
is.
enough.
So do you want to remove the parentheses commission? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Certainly can, yeah.
I think it's unnecessary work.
Yep.
Page 4, line 3, it should be Mr. McCabe, not Mick McCabe.
So noted.
Thank you. Page 5. To drive Councilor Dwyer nuts, line 38, vaults should have an apostrophe.
Noted.
Moving on, page 9, to furthermore, drive Councilor Dwyer nuts, line
Which-
3,
Line 3?
and line
Okay.
9 on page 9.
Is he doing a good job?
There should be no apostrophe for lions.
Gotcha.
And if I could just
Let him finish, okay?
if I could just backstep to page 8 between lines 20 and 21 spacing.
Okay.
And to the
Next.
chagrin of Councilor Dwyer, I am done.
Okay. Motion made by Bill Boyd with corrections.
You were doing so good.
Second.
Several months have gone by. Didn't see any of that stuff.
You like- Okay, Tom Canning has corrections?
Yes, I do.
Yep.
Point of order, Madam Chair, would you please advise Councilor Dwyer that if he's going to give me grief, he needs to give Councilor Koenig grief as well.
I'm gonna put you both in a chair in the corner. Go ahead, Tom.
On page 12, at line 31, at the end, it says, he noted the new condition of most of the buses and that they would be refueled on site. So just the addition of the word "and." And then on line 33.
Yep,
Pardon?
33.
33, required safety mechanisms. After that should say "be in place," period. And then student transportation purchased the entirety of the building.
Okay, so
There's
required
words
safety
missing in there.
mechanisms be in place, period. And what was the rest of it again?
Student transportation
Student.
purchased the entirety of the building. And we'll be utilizing a portion for, so
Gotcha.
just adding those 5 words.
Gotcha. Anything else, John?
Nope, that's all I had. Did you get that, Paul?
Okay, so I have a motion by Bill Boyd with corrections. Tom Koenig, do you want a second?
I'll
With
second.
your corrections?
Yep.
Any other corrections? Okay. All those in favor of the minutes with corrections, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? None. 700. Okay, comments from the press? None. Comments from the public? None here. Comments from the council? Bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The NRPC met yesterday. A couple months prior, I sought out and was appointed to fulfill an unremaining term to the Executive Committee, and I was reappointed last night to continue serving on the executive committee on the NRPC. Couple of things as it relates to the NRPC. Kyle Fox and Don Tromala asked me to represent town of Merrimack as it related to an amendment to the T-TAC traffic improvement project, where there's a section of road that was a part of a study of 2002 that needs to go from 2 lanes to 3, and it runs from Pennachuck Scale right at Continental Boulevard all the way up to Craftsman's Lane. It also includes Boston Post Road. So as it stood, this project has been punted down the road for several years. And part of the amendment that was being recommended by the T-TAC was to punt it out one more particular year. So I was asked by Kyle and Don to support the amendment with the caveat that the NRPC recommend to the DOT that they sit down with the town of Merrimack and have a substantive conversation about the necessity and the need for this particular project to occur. And unanimously passed the Regional Planning Commission. So I was very happy to report that. Tim Roach, who is the executive director, is leaving.
Right.
He's going to Reddick, which is the Rockingham Economic Development Commission. He basically has taken a 1-hour commute and has narrowed it down to about, depending on how long it takes to brush his teeth, as he said, about 5 minutes. Literally rolls out of bed, and he's got 2 young kids, so it's a
good for him.
A heck of an opportunity for him. So the application process has started. The search committee has narrowed it down to one internal candidate, who's the Jennifer Chaz, who's the current interim executive director, and 3 other outside candidates that they will be looking at. I'm not going to be a part of the search committee, but will be part of the process at the very end before a recommendation is made to the commission. So I'm excited about that. One of the things that I did recommend to the executive committee that they seem to be enthralled with is the NRPC has seen a significant period of growth over the last couple of years. Kerry Deers, who used to be the executive director, picked up and left. Tim Roach was hired and appointed to fulfill that position. He's currently leaving. So we've had two executive directors that have picked up and left the NRPC within the last 3 years. So there's concern about being able to maintain continuity of leadership at the NRPC. So one of the things I've recommended to the executive committee to consider as they move forward with the process is to not have the executive director be employed at will, but actually
have a
contract. Absolutely. So very happy with some of the colleagues on the commission who are enthralled with that particular idea. So I was very happy about that. So more to come with that particular piece. And there was one other thing that I'm drawing a blank on. You know what? It's immaterial. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
If it comes back before we sign off.
No, I think people want me to be quiet. So.
People.
No one said that. Didn't think it.
Okay, anyone else? Yes, Dan.
Forgive me, but I do have a little bit of a rant to go on.
Go for it.
I'm very concerned how my town is changing. And exit 11 to me, which I travel to and from every day, is the most congested intersection in town. The planning board has given approval to approximately 260, maybe even 280, or about. Zoning board did. I think that is going to be just disastrous. I really do. I'm talking as a counselor, but as a citizen, I want everybody in town to be aware of it, because maybe more opposition to it. But the thought of having 5 to 6 buildings, if you can picture what a complex of 260 units would do in the location of the old Merrimack Hotel, is to me just quite frightening, knowing that barrack-style buildings, 2 or 3 stories high, each building approximately 40 units per building. That's what you need to get in order to get 260 units. That intersection at rush hour is a nightmare now. What it's going to become once the hotel and 260 units are at that property, to me is mind-bogglingly dumb to do to our own self. I was comparing ourselves to someone saying, why do we do this? And someone said, that would never happen in Bedford. And I said, well, Bedford gets a reputation for being a little snooty, a little uppity sometimes, but they do tell developers no a lot. Just because someone owns a property, you think you get to do whatever you want to it, and I've got that independent streak in myself, and I can feel what it means to own something and you want to do something with your property, and I can respect that. But as a counselor, we're supposed to be looking out for the whole community, and that type of development to me is just wrong. It's the wrong spot to congest the density into that intersection where so many of us get off to go to work and to come in and out of our community. But furthermore, if you're paying attention to that intersection, which many of you are, that we've got 6,000 employees at Fidelity and another almost 4,000 at the Marquette. And so there's roughly 10,000 people coming and going at rush hour, leaving, and they're getting off at Route 3, and we all know what Route 3 is like right now. And we know the widening project is coming. We don't know when. I would say it's obsolete the day they finish it. The widening Route 3.
Capacity will be met.
Yeah, it's just, I just see a complete nightmare. This town will forever be changed if you put 260 units at that location, and it's just going to be unlivable. And so for the protection of all our homes, for the protection of all our investments in our homes and in our town, I would hope people are paying attention to what's coming down the pike, so to speak, in the next 2 to 3 years. I'm predicting, and that's why I want to say it on record, this town will become unrecognizable in 3 to 5 years if we continue to let this kind of density growth of apartments just start springing up. And not to mention another 260 by the Flatley property down on Route 3. So within the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to have 500 new apartment buildings, plus a second hotel being built at the entrance of the mall. In Edgebrook, so people should be paying attention to what's going on out there, being involved in your community, and that's the only thing I'm trying to say is watch out. Thank you for that.
Duly noted. Yes, Tom?
I appreciate your rant and your thoughts. I would, as there were a couple of comments. One brought up Edgebrook, which was tabled indefinitely at the planning board meeting. So we don't know what the future holds there. But if they want to work that project, they'll probably have to go back to ground zero and start over because they're past their time limit and they've tabled it indefinitely, which means they need to notify and do all kinds of things to bring it back alive. The other properties, it's easy to talk about volumes of apartments and explain that that's going to cause problems, but the official traffic studies that look at peak traffic studies and things of that nature, as they've been presented and as they've been peer-reviewed and as they've been vetted, have shown that the properties like the Flatley property can handle that kind of increase in traffic without significant damage to the local areas as far as traffic flow is concerned. And I'm sure that the planning board will be taking as thorough, if not more deep, look at traffic in the vicinity of Executive Drive, especially with respect to this property. To tell everybody that you need to pay attention and get upset about it is fine, but the planning board is restricted by laws and regulations as to what they can or cannot do, and we cannot take away an opportunity for somebody to develop this property, as you alluded to. If it was your property, you'd want to develop it. If they're within their legal rights to do so, we do whatever we can to make sure that they do that in a way that's best for the town and makes those improvements, but we still have to follow within the laws and regulations of the state as to how we control or try to regulate. I'm not afraid to be sued if somebody doesn't agree with us, so I don't have any problem with saying no, but realizing that they have that opportunity to also go to court. And when that happens, the court's decision becomes law, and that's what happens. And so the town no longer has any say in the matter. So we always try and walk an appropriate line there, to not go overboard, to the point where we think will be thrown out in court, and any concessions or restrictions or whatever that the town had put on the property would be totally washed out by the court's ruling. So I think the planning board does its job well, and I think our community development staff does its job well, and I encourage everybody to pay attention to these projects and to go ahead and make your wishes known, but realize that there are certain limitations and restrictions that we all have to follow. We do have public hearings at every one of our planning board meetings on every one of our projects, and frankly, people very seldom come up to talk about them. So by all means, come out and talk about it and tell us what you're thinking. And like I said, I expect that there will be a special meeting just to talk about traffic on this project. And so you're encouraged to watch for that and to come out and talk about it. Thank you.
Finley, and then Jackie.
Since this, I guess this is now my comment, which I wasn't going to make, but the surprise to me was the zoning change. That was more my surprise, because I agree with Tom. Once that happened, now they've got to abide by the rules laid out in that zoning change and so on. So, but I do believe traffic studies work, and it's not only the applicant who's got their traffic study. We have our people, as Tom had said, that will be confirming the information, agreeing or not, maybe. But normally they're licensed or certified or whatever engineers, so their reputation and name is on the line as well. So even though a developer is bringing one in, they, they're normally in the ballpark anyhow. So I understand your concern, because when I came here, it was a lot less traffic. Though we went through those gyrations when digital came in, it became a nightmare of a cloverleaf at exit 11, and I don't think it was exit 11 at that time either. But it will run its course now. So I guess that's it.
So what you're saying is have faith.
It's sometimes hard to say, but a property rights thing is very serious, and so and you recognize that. You said that in your comments, and so it's that zoning change that all of a sudden made it a different game.
And the state, it is a state intersection, so the state's going to have to be involved in it. There's no way that they can't be.
Does their engineer have peer review as well?
Respect to that, what can they do? It's a definitive space.
Oh, there's nothing that can change.
It can't be expanded. It can't be another light.
But there'd have to be a decision about whether they can
fixed.
accommodate
Right.
the traffic.
Right.
Yeah, there really is nothing unless they totally reconfigured, and I don't know how they could do it. You're absolutely right.
But I would hate to be people who live, luckily I live a lot further away. I'm more down on the Bedford line, so it takes me 10 minutes to get home from that section. But the people who live on Amherst Road and the people who live on Turkey Hill Road and all the roads leading off of Turkey Road before the highway garage, if you're selling your house, you better not have a showing at 6 o'clock. Because if people are getting off of that intersection, so it's the homeowners and the value of their homes that I'm really looking out for. What the future of is their value of their home going to go down in 3 years? If you've got 260 apartments sitting there, that's the scary part. That's the planning part that we're supposed to have our planning board and us be thinking about the future. And that's the scary part. And I keep using the word scary because that's what it seems to me.
Yeah.
That volume.
I know about scary.
Is just, yeah.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
It's also, though, Bedford, quite frankly, has their traffic issues beginning now, and they've been going on for a few years. 101 is not the easy ride that it once was. And really, their planning and all, they've allowed in that shopping center at the intersection of Wallace and 101, they allowed a concentration that surprised the living daylights out of me. And so they have their problem. It's not the great ride that everybody wants to believe it is.
Even Back River Road is getting to be very crowded now with the addition of Whole Foods and some other things.
Sorry, Jackie.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody, I have a few things to say about it. I've been here for 52 years. We came here when the town was honestly 2,000 or 3,000 people. It was so difficult to pin down. It's kind of like now, we don't know exactly how many people. And, if I had been that type of, for me, I didn't want to live in such a small town, and I was glad when it grew. I thought we would move along when the children got to school.
From Massachusetts.
Yeah, a little too small for me. But no, seriously, the town has grown in very much fits and starts, and I wasn't happy with very much of it probably at the time. But, things did work out. And I was thinking about that particular thing, that my concern is something completely different. It's all those people packed together in that small area. I think that's a terrible thing. But that, you know what? Somebody has the right to do that if they're not violating any of our planning board. Let's face it, they have a right to do it. I'm very uncomfortable with it. Traffic has always resolved one way or another in this town. And now I'm going to say that the only bright spot in all of this, I read recently that New Hampshire has 200,000 jobs that are going unfilled. We need skilled workers. These are, I'm sure, jobs that they're including that haven't been offered yet, because the guy who just moved into the old Nashua paper, whatever it is, just can't expand because he can't find the right workers. These apartments might bring workers. They might bring workers. We can use workforce. We can. Look at all of our companies. Merrimack is a thriving town. And the other bright spot is that this parcel has been sitting there for, I'd say, 50,000 years or so, empty. And now, all of a sudden, it's desirable. Now, why is that? Because Merrimack is desirable. That's it for me tonight.
That's your rant.
We have a rant from one side and a balancing rant on the other. Okay, I have no rant, but I wish everyone enjoys our mini vacation, since we're not going to be meeting until the 22nd. And I know, Tom, you're going to have a longer vacation because you're not going to be here. I'm sorry?
I remembered what I had to say.
Oh. Okay,
Motion
go.
to adjourn?
Like I said, nobody wants to hear me talk. No, very quickly, the executive committee for fiscal year 2019 reconfigured their dues. There's a specific formula broken down by property valuation and population, and Merrimack's dues are going down $142. So that was kind of neat. The second thing was the mayor of Nashua asked the NRPC to endorse his desire to pursue rail incrementally using not state funds, but city and Nashua funds, that kind of thing, for them to be able to pursue the type of studying, the data collection that they need to determine whether or not having rail come to Nashua would be viable. It's something that the city of Nashua wants to take ownership of. So the NRPC formally gave their blessing to the mayor of Nashua. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Very good.
Motion to adjourn?
Seconded.
Motion by Dan Dwyer, second by Bill Boyd. Any discussion? How, no one would dare, right, Dan? Go look at the time. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nothing. 700. Good night, everyone.